forecast first is brought to you by PetersCars.com.
Good morning, East Texas. Here is your forecast first. Beginning pretty warm, 83 degrees. More clouds forming though as we continue on into the afternoon. We'll still see breaks in sun, still feeling humid outside, but we could see a few isolated storms popping up, but really low coverage on this. 96 degrees for a high temperature. Wouldn't bet on the rain if I were you heading out the door this morning, but I'll talk more about my full forecast coming later in the show. But until then, your news starts right now.
Coming up, helping heal broken hearts. An East Texas community chips in after an accident kills a 9-year-old girl.
This is what we do. East Texans, we come together, we help each other out. Doing something like this just can take a burden off of them.
Officials share the important safety measure that could save lives. And the man accused of murdering a man in Longview is indicted. Police give more details on this case.
You're watching Fox 51 Good Day.
Good morning, I'm Karah Rucker. Thank you for watching Fox 51 Good Day. We begin with continuing coverage on a fatal crash in Rusk County. You may remember a 9-year-old girl died on the scene of that wreck. Now an East Texas community is coming together to support her family through this horrible ordeal. Fox 51's Annalise Coble shares her story and some important seatbelt safety information that could save your child's life.
This is Peyton Kressner in a photo taken just 10 minutes before she died on her first day of 4th grade. Her mother shared it after the crash that took her life.
She was just, oh my goodness, she was just a little live wire. I mean, she was such a sweet kid and just very energetic. I love wearing her little boots, and she was just a little spitfire, I guess you could say.
That was Leandria Starr, a work friend of Peyton's mother. She started a fundraiser on Facebook after hearing about the tragedy.
This is what we do. East Texans, we come together, we help each other out. Doing something like this just can take a burden off of them.
A burden that has touched 2 East Texas families in the last few weeks. Officer Stedman Coleman was not wearing his seatbelt,
while Peyton was secured only across her lap.
Both were killed after being thrown from their vehicles.
The seatbelt keeps you in the position to where the airbags will be the most beneficial to you. They keep you inside the vehicle.
It's for the public good, public safety. It doesn't hurt anybody to buckle up.
I think it does save lives. I think it keeps people from being ejected from the vehicle.
If worn correctly, a seatbelt might save your life. Annalise Coble, Fox 51 News.
And if you would like to donate to Peyton's family, you can find a link to that fundraiser on our website. That is easttexasmatters.com. There's been yet another deadly crash in Rusk County. It happened Wednesday on US 259 and FL 918, that's just north of Henderson. Authorities say 2 cars were involved in this accident and at least 1 person was killed. Their identity hasn't been released yet, but we'll keep you updated as we learn more. We have continuing coverage on a murder in Longview that ended in a fire. A Louisiana man accused of killing an East Texas man has been indicted. He is Johnny Kellogg, and according to his wife, the victim, Johnny Miller of Longview, made advances toward her and tried to rape her. She told police that her husband fought the victim off. Court documents say Kellogg took Miller home to his duplex, where he hit him with a tire iron and left him in his bedroom. However, police say an autopsy shows Miller's cause of death was strangulation. Investigators believe Kellogg then set the duplex on fire. He's still being held in the Gregg County Jail on a $500,000 bond. A Texas company is selling blueprints for 3D printed guns despite a federal court order that says not to. The company claims selling the plans instead of giving them away is technically different and okay. Fox 51's Washington correspondent Anna Warnicki brings us this report.
With a few clicks, anyone with access to a computer and a 3D printer can buy instructions to print a gun at home.
I'm happy now at this point to become the iTunes of downloadable guns if I can't be the Napster.
On Monday, a Seattle judge banned Cody Wilson, the owner of the Texas company Defense Distributed, from posting 3D blueprints of guns online. So Wilson announced he'll just sell them instead.
To some degree, I regret that these attorneys general had to drive this into a commercial space.
Wilson says already hundreds of blueprints are ordered, but Texas Democratic Congressman Lloyd Doggett introduced legislation to make sure the guns are traceable.
Before anyone prints one out, they have to apply and get a number to go on there so that law enforcement will always be able to trace these weapons.
Representative Doggett admits getting the bill through a Republican-controlled Congress will be difficult. So far, most Republicans in Congress are not commenting on the 3D guns. Except for Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massey, who tweeted his support for Wilson releasing the blueprints, saying, "Let's have it. I support the First Amendment and the Second Amendment."
I'm looking to a day in the very near future when we have a new Congress that can perhaps present legislation in a form and way that President Trump will have to sign.
Doggett says he plans to reintroduce the bill in November after the midterm elections. In Washington, I'm Anna Warnicki.
And now, your East Texas Storm Team forecast.
This morning, we are warm outside, but much cooler than yesterday. 73 in Tyler, 74 in Longview. Seeing near 70s in Nacogdoches. No one quite breaking below that 60-degree mark yet, but we are still going to be at least warming up now that the sun is making its way over the horizon here. Not too bad feeling of a morning considering how yesterday started. Today will be hot. 96 degrees for a high. 97 in Longview, 97 in Jacksonville, though. Deep East Texas can be seeing some slightly cooler temperatures. 94 in Lufkin, 96 in Nacogdoches. We'll continue to see these temperatures staying hot and well above average as we get to the end of August. But as September starts, we're going to see a little bit of changes coming on in. I'll get to that in a little bit here, but let's look at those wind speeds. 5 miles an hour, finally seeing some winds coming in here in Tyler. 0 in Longview. Deep East Texas also seeing some goose eggs down there. Starting light, but we won't expect those winds to be picking up too much. Seeing just a little bit of a breeze around 10 miles per hour today. Here is our most updated pollen count. Trees remain low, grass remains low, weeds staying very high. Ragweed hasn't really changed much, still staying above average, especially for this time of year, and mold is staying pretty low. So if you are seeing any allergy symptoms, ragweed is to blame. For today, reaching a high eventually of 96 degrees, very isolated afternoon storms. Not quite as scattered and widespread as yesterday. Only a few spots are expected to really see much rain out of this. We'll be seeing some broken clouds for most of East Texas. Our skies looking a lot like this icon right here. We're seeing at least wind speeds also staying around 10 miles per hour. Only a 10% chance of that rain today. By tomorrow, though, 97 degrees, sunny at times. Some clouds lingering. South winds at just about 10 miles per hour still. Futurecast is looking kind of boring. Northeast, we're going to be seeing some showers and storms. Parts of Arkansas will most likely be staying dry. Maybe that isolated shower, as I mentioned, but skies clearing up as we get to tonight. Tomorrow, seeing some isolated storm potential in deep East Texas, but at least looking like we're not going to see the best rain chances until next week. So as soon as we hit basically our Labor Day weekend, that rain potential jumps up on Sunday, 40% on Monday, but then back down to 30 by at least Tuesday of next week. So it's also looking up against some cooler temperatures as well. Karah, I don't think anyone's complaining about that because we desperately do need that rain. Deep East Texas is going to be seeing still rain potential as well Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. If you'd like to learn more about the forecast, head on over to our website at easttexasmatters.com. Karah, back to you.
Veterans in Phoenix are moved to tears as they pay their final respects to Senator John McCain. Fox's Stefania Oakley has this story.
The emotions just run so deep. These Vietnam veterans filled with grief, saddened.
I'm sorry.
As they take one step closer to saying a final goodbye to a fellow hero, a man they call a brother, sharing a special connection through sacrifice and service. It sure is tough.
I get really emotional when I think about him because he's a great man. He was one of a kind. One of a kind, a soldier.
One of a kind, a prisoner of war, his survival admired, widely respected.
If my hero can endure 5 years or torment, I can endure 3 or 4 hours of the heat.
Watching the video, the TV of him coming off the bus and limping and coming for the medical attention that he needed.
So for these fellow servicemen approaching the Arizona Capitol Rotunda where Senator McCain lies feels surreal, feels unbearable.
I'm about to break down.
Their final words to Arizona's Maverick.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all you've done, not just for us, but for the country and the world, really.
A look at the day ahead now. A memorial service is set to be held for Senator John McCain, and President Trump holds a rally in Indiana. This is what's happening later today. Family and friends gather to remember Senator John McCain at North Phoenix Baptist Church before he is taken to Washington, D.C. Former Vice President Joe Biden will deliver the eulogy at this service. President Trump is in Indiana, where he'll hold a rally. He's expected to endorse Republican Senate candidate Mike Braun. And then Mitt Romney will speak at a Natural Resources Committee meeting. He is expected to discuss wildfire response. And Vice President Mike Pence speaks at the American Legion's 100th National Convention in Minneapolis. He'll later speak at a Minnesota Republican Unity event. And coming up next on Fox 51 Good Day, check your medicine cabinets. Why a blood pressure medicine is under recall. And double the trouble, the White House Wildcats have a unique game plan for the season. How they plan to bring home that state trophy.
We're only one day away from high school football season being kicked off, but we're a few more days away till our next great rain potential. I'll talk more about that with my full forecast coming up after the break.
And now, your East Texas Storm Team forecast.
Now, we had a beautiful sunrise here this morning. We are now starting to see more and more light come up. I'm going to have to move the tower cam here a little bit, but let's savor the last few moments here of this sunrise. Starting off not too bad outside here in Tyler. Temperatures beginning in the mid-70s, down to 73 now, though, in Tyler. Moisture in the air is a little bit lower than yesterday, but still pretty high. Just some light wind speeds being reported currently, but we're going to keep on heating up later on into today. The Fredonia Hotel Tower Cam in Nacogdoches seeing that nice golden hour currently, seeing some nice colors here on some of the buildings. A nice beginning in deep East Texas. 70 degrees of current temperature, so much cooler than yesterday. Still pretty muggy outside, and even some patchy fog forming in some low-lying areas, but it's not going to be enough to really reduce visibility all that much. Looking ahead into today's forecast, 96 degrees for a high temperature. Very isolated afternoon storms. I can't emphasize isolated enough. 2-3 storms might pop on up here as we get into the afternoon. Everyone's going to be seeing that rain. Really only a 10% chance here. It's basically a shot in the dark. Then looking ahead, south winds 10 miles per hour. That's when we can expect a little bit of a breeze today. By tonight, Low temperature 76 degrees, mostly clear night ahead. Wind speed south at 10 miles per hour. Still holding on to a little bit of a breeze, but our futurecast kind of echoes this as we're not going to see much rain. Although the northeast has some great rain chances in parts of Arkansas, we will be staying at least dry. Just a few clouds by tomorrow afternoon. Very similar to some clouds and sun mix. Some scattered showers to our southeast, but really drying out too into Saturday. But Sunday, that's when changes start coming on in. We're going to have some rain potential on Sunday. That's going to help cool our temperatures. If we don't get this rain, I'm worried that we're not going to be hitting these lower 90s. But as long as we see those showers in the area, that's going to help our temperatures feel a little bit cooler outside and give some much needed relief to our gardens. If you'd like to learn more about the forecast, and over to our website at easttexasmatters.com. I'm going to go water my avocado plant. Kara, I'll be right back. News back to you.
Good idea, Eric. Thank you. All right, now in our medical minute today, for those of you who take high blood pressure medication, take a listen to this because there's been a nationwide recall after a labeling mix-up. Accord Healthcare recalled hydrochlorothiazide, and it's because the bottle of 100 caplets has a different medicine inside of it. Now, that pill is not deadly to patients, but it could leave you with high potassium levels. If you take this medication, make sure your pills are a light orange color with a letter H on one side and a number 1 on the other. The batch affected is labeled PW05264. If you're impacted by this mix-up, return it to your pharmacist. U.S. health officials are asking the federal government for help. They have issued a very strong warning following a dramatic increase in STDs. Reed Binion explains what's behind these high numbers.
It's time for the Trump administration to declare sexually transmitted diseases a public health crisis in America. That's according to the National Coalition of STD Directors. For the 4th year in a row, rates of syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia have gone up in the U.S. according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Nearly 2.3 million cases of these STDs were reported in the U.S., topping the previous record high set in 2016 by more than 200,000 cases. So now health experts are asking the government to authorize emergency access to public health funding so they can combat the crisis. All 3 of these diseases are treatable, but if left untreated, women could suffer from permanent damage to the reproductive system, and men to the prostate. Heart and nervous system issues are also concerns for patients. Experts worry the opioid epidemic could be a major factor in the increase, with more men and women trading sex for drugs. That would explain why more babies are being born with congenital syphilis. Experts are focusing on education as the best method towards prevention, as well as utilizing testing and available treatment services.
Reed Binion with today's Medical Minute. Chemotherapy is one of the hardest treatments to go through. Now, for people taking it for lung cancer, there's a report showing it can bring on early menopause in women. The study is one of the first to examine this happening in women younger than 50. After a 17-year period, researchers found that more than half of women who went through chemo started menopause early. But they added this area is understudied and they're urging more research to be done. And in sports, the Dallas Cowboys flew out to Houston Wednesday and are set for their final preseason game later on tonight. But they're also thinking about the roster cuts they have to make before Saturday afternoon. The Silver Star Nation's Babe Laufenberg was in Arlington before the team left, and he caught up with them at an annual kickoff luncheon.
Today at AT&T Stadium, it was the annual Cowboys kickoff luncheon. A fine crowd here, about 1,000 people, only about 89,000 short when the Cowboys welcomed the New York Giants back here for Sunday Night Football on September 16th. But between that time and now, we got a few things to take care of. Number 1, preseason game number 4 in Houston tomorrow night, then travel to Carolina on September 9th for the opener against the Carolina Panthers. But today was all about the Cowboys and what their fans could expect.
But understand this, once we decide who those 63 guys are, line 1 is going to be fight. We're going to have an identity, we're going to attack, we're going to compete, we're going to be physical, we're going to execute, we're going to be finished, we're going to be relentless, all those things that we talked about.
This year, this is the youngest team that we've ever had since I've been a part of the Dallas Cowboys. This team is young. but boy, does this team have energy.
So the Cowboys will have some of their young players have one final time to make a good impression on the coaching staff. Cowboys have 90 players right now on the roster. They'll have to cut that number to 53 by Saturday at 3 p.m. At AT&T Stadium in Arlington, I'm Babe Laufenberg.
The Cowboys preseason continues tonight right here on Fox 51, and the boys will be playing at NRG Stadium to face the Houston Texans. And Friday Night Lights are a little more than 24 hours away. In White House, head coach Marcus Gold says the Wildcats will have two threats in the quarterback position. Two seniors, Flint Harrington and Cameron Cantrell, will take the field Friday night. Cantrell, who is already committed to Texas Tech, will start as a receiver, and he's been a standout in that position for the last 2 seasons.
Our identity right now, I don't think it's a situation to where if one quarterback plays better than the other that they're going to win the starting job. That's not where we're at. Cantrell's going to play quarterback. He's going to play receiver. Flint Harrington's going to play get a lot of action at quarterback, and that's kind of something that we're going to stick throughout the whole season.
White House gets things going with a showdown against the Henderson Lions at their newly renovated stadium. That's going to be tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. And that night also marks the return of the longest running high school football show in East Texas. You can see all your team's highlights and much more on Friday Football Fever. That's at 10:15 p.m. on KETK, our sister station. Then at 11 p.m. right here with Fever Overtime on Fox 51. And it's now 7:21 on your Thursday morning. Coming up next, sporting goods sales take a slump. The move this company made that's impacting their profit. And later, Oreos is spicing things up. Check out their new flavors right after the break. In our Cash Cast segment today, Dick's Sporting Goods are reporting a bigger than expected drop in quarterly sales. They're forecasting further declines and saying it's due to tighter controls on their gun sales. The company recently posting nearly a 2% fall. Dick's was one of the first retailers to stop selling assault rifles and high-capacity magazines. They also barred the sales of guns to people under the age of 21. Now, even though sales have lowered for now, they say the move to tighten down on gun sales has also attracted some people to its stores. Two senators, one Republican and one Democrat, want to reform the IRS. They say too often taxpayers can't reach anyone when they need help. Fox 51's Washington correspondent Jessica Smith has this report.
Filing your taxes can be painful enough.
Hardworking taxpayers shouldn't have to wait online for 45 minutes to get a call answered, or not get their calls answered at all, which is more than half the time.
That's why Republican Senator Rob Portman has introduced a bill with Democratic Senator Ben Cardin to overhaul the Internal Revenue Service. David Williams, president of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance, says the bill is much needed.
It addresses a whole host of issues that the IRS has not addressed for more than 20 years.
The goal is to restructure the IRS and make the agency more responsive and accountable to taxpayers.
The biggest improvement is that this is going to be focused on taxpayers and not the agency.
The bill would revamp several areas of the agency. It would update IRS technology, require more approval for executive bonuses, and increase taxpayer protections.
We have to fix the appeals process and where people get the chance to appeal. We have to add some new taxpayer rights in our view.
The bill would also retrain employees and help the agency better serve low-income people.
And make sure that they aren't targeted unfairly when it comes to collections.
Portman hopes the bipartisan bill will move quickly through the Senate.
Making sure that the taxpayer gets the tax system that they deserve.
But Congress still has a long to-do list this fall. From the Farm Bill to Supreme Court confirmation hearings, Williams wonders if there's enough time to send the bill to the president's desk.
This should be a no-brainer for Congress. If it's not this year, definitely next year.
In Washington, I'm Jessica Smith.
Well, America's most iconic cookie is launching some spicy new flavors. Oreo is introducing wasabi and hot chicken wing cookies. Ew, why? That is not for me. All right, we'll be right back on Fox 51. Good day.
Local, experienced, trusted. This is KETK Today.
Good morning, I'm Karah Rucker with your KETK News Break. We have continuing coverage on a murder in Longview that ended in a fire. A Louisiana man accused of killing an East Texas man has been indicted. He is Johnny Kellogg, and according to his wife, the victim, Johnny Miller of Longview, made advances toward her and tried to rape her. She told police that her husband fought the victim off. Court documents say Kellogg took Miller to the home of his duplex, where he hit him with a tire iron and left him in his bedroom. However, police say an autopsy shows Miller's cause of death was actually strangulation. Investigators believe Kellogg then set the duplex on fire. He's still being held in the Gregg County Jail on a $500,000 bond. We're going to go ahead and check in now with Eric Mingus for a look at our weather outside. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone at home. We are starting off with some clear blue skies in some parts. Just a few clouds out there, but relatively a calm beginning. Slightly cooler than yesterday. 73 degrees here in Tyler, 71s at Dew Point. So lots of moisture in the air with south-southeast winds at just about 5 miles per hour. As we continue on into our morning, we'll get warm outside. 96 degrees for a high temperature. We'll see a sun-cloud mix during the day today. More sun than clouds. Overall, still going to be pretty warm outside, but there is a chance for an isolated shower, but it's going to be really spotty here. A 10% chance of really seeing any rain here. Very isolated afternoon storm with some broken clouds. 96 degrees for a high temperature. Let's look at that future cast. We'll see some clouds really building on up here as we do get into the afternoon. As we see the heat of the day, seeing more and more clouds forming. Showers and storms to our northeast. We'll be lucky even if the northern areas really get any rain out of this. We'll continue to see some clearing skies beginning to tonight, and by tomorrow get to do it all over again. More clouds form on up as we do get into the afternoon and evening. Scattered storms to our southeast, but really looking like majority of East Texas will be staying dry here. Best rain chances aren't coming until the end of the weekend here, but fortunately we have a long weekend ahead. Labor Day weekend, we're going to be seeing some rain potential starting on up Sunday and Monday and on Tuesday. So while we have had some isolated showers the last couple of days, looks like we haven't seen any rain yet. Looks like next week will be your lucky next few days. Have a great day, everybody.
Your East Texas Forecast First is brought to you by PetersCars.com.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday. Here's a look at your forecast first. Beginning 83 degrees, more clouds forming, but a warm beginning to our day. By noon, 89, and high temperatures just about in those mid-90s. Some of us could jump up to the upper 90s, though, if we get enough sunshine. Looking like a chance for a few isolated storms. Isolated, I can't emphasize that enough. I'll talk more about that later in the show. Until then, your news starts right now.
Coming up in our next half hour, the convicted Balch Springs officer is sentenced to prison. How long he'll be behind bars. And fighting against voter fraud, where investigators are looking to sort out the Gregg County harvesting scandal.
You're watching Fox 51 Good Day.
I'm Karah Rucker, and thank you for watching Fox 51 Good Day. We begin this half hour with an update on a former Balch Springs police officer's murder case. Roy Oliver was sentenced to 15 years in prison for the shooting death of teenager Jordan Edwards. Edwards was leaving a party last year with 4 other unarmed teens. When police showed up to break up the party, they heard shots outside. Now, those shots ended up not being related to the party, but officers tried to stop the teenagers from leaving. According to Oliver's testimony, he shot the teen because he thought the car was going to run over his partner. His partner did not feel threatened, though, according to his testimony. Oliver has also been ordered to pay a $10,000 fine. A Tyler car wash employee has been charged with aggravated robbery. The man's name is Hans Thompson. Police say he was involved in a robbery that happened at his workplace in July. It was at Ed's Car Wash on South Broadway in Tyler. Police say 2 employees were robbed by 2 men who held them at gunpoint. Thompson claimed that he didn't know the robbers, but police found evidence on his phone showing a different story and proving that he was involved. That led to his arrest and as well as identifying someone else involved. A Gladewater woman accused of hiring a hitman has now been indicted. 23-year-old Deanna Allridge was arrested by Gregg County deputies back in June. She's charged with solicitation for murder for hire, accused of offering to pay $500 to have the father of her child killed. This apparently happened after she lost custody, and she's being held in the Gregg County Jail at this time. On Wednesday, the White House showcased how local communities are fighting the war against drugs. The Trump administration says 731 communities will receive renewed grants to fight drug addiction in their backyards. Fox 51's Washington correspondent Mark Meredith has this report.
It's an honor to be here.
President Trump has called the opioid epidemic a national emergency, but he says opioids are only part of a bigger national drug problem.
Many of us have a friend, a colleague, or a loved one who has struggled with dependency. I have.
The White House says to help, it's renewing federal funding for anti-drug programs in 731 communities. The grants, first established in 1998, help people like Amy Haskins of West Virginia warn kids about the dangers of drugs.
We work specifically on providing information. We teach classes in our school system in Jackson County that are substance abuse prevention classes.
Haskins says her group's anti-drug training reaches kids as young as 4 and 5.
Communities awarded the grant money will receive about $125,000 each, but those communities will also have to put their own money in. The grants require a dollar-for-dollar match.
Trent Coffey runs an anti-drug program near Knoxville, Tennessee. He says the money will help him fight recent spikes in addiction.
We're starting to see a resurgence of heroin and crystal meth come back into our community, so we have to do a comprehensive approach and address it all.
This year's grants will be distributed starting October 1st. In Washington, I'm Mark Meredith.
Fox 51 News is your local election headquarters. Authorities are still dealing with paid voter harvesting in Gregg County. This scandal being related to the Precinct 4 County Commissioner race. That's between Democrats Shannon Brown and Kasha Williams. The investigation will now focus on applications for absentee mail-in ballots. Investigators from the Attorney General's office in Austin, along with county officials, are expected to start conducting interviews soon. We spoke to Gregg County Judge Bill Stout, who tells us the investigation is to maintain the integrity of the voting system and process.
Cloud over the Precinct 4 regarding these absentee ballots
has got a number of people concerned, all the way to the AG's office. And so I think the investigation that the AG's office called is appropriate to find out exactly if there's an issue here that we need to deal with, and if we do, we'll deal with it.
The state's investigation has been delayed due to similar cases in other counties, but it is expected to continue in the upcoming weeks. Election security is getting examined in Washington, D.C. leading up to November elections. Senators want the Secure Elections Act to include measures to force election technology companies to disclose foreign ownership. Fox 51's Washington correspondent Morgan Wright has this report.
Maryland Senator Ben Cardin says our election systems are threatened as Vladimir Putin wants to pit American against American.
That's why we have suggested that this administration take a lot more seriously than Mr. Trump has the threat against our democracy.
Maryland Senators Ben Cardin and Chris Van Hollen urged a Senate committee to amend the Secure Elections Act to make it clear when a U.S. election system is owned by another country.
We would have disclosures, and we also think we may have to change our foreign ownership laws to make sure that this part of our critical infrastructure, our election system, cannot have foreign ownership.
The company that runs Maryland's state election system, ByteGrid LLC, has ties to a Russian oligarch. Once the senators learned that, they pushed for a change in the law.
It is of concern to me that an oligarch close to Mr. Putin owns part of the services being provided in Maryland, since we know Mr. Putin will use any tool at his disposal to interfere in our free elections.
The Center for American Progress says immediate action is needed.
I think that the Maryland example really shines a light on that and stresses urgency in knowing more about who's really controlling these vendors.
She says transparency and more regulation is needed.
We really can't respond to threats if we don't know that they exist.
Many experts believe the best way to protect elections is to use paper ballots. In Washington, Morgan Wright.
It's now 7:36 on your Thursday morning, and coming up next on Fox 51 Good Day, a national honor. 2 local students were selected for special recognition, the one thing that stands out to them in their experience so far. And the 2019 Farmer's Almanac is here. Whether you believe it or it's just hogwash, people stand by it every year. Why some still have faith in the book and others not so much.
And it is now 7:37, and we will be seeing some really interesting weather yesterday. But what will this impact for next week's storms potentially coming on in? Our full forecast coming up after the break.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, so clearly you're awake if you're watching this with us, but we were just talking about the struggle of waking up this morning for some reason. It's a Thursday. We're closer to the weekend, so it shouldn't be like this.
It kind of still feels like Wednesday, though, doesn't it? It doesn't
a little
feel
bit,
like...
but yesterday you were saying how it felt like Tuesday.
My whole week has been pushed back a day. I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure out that.
That is so weird, but I don't know, this morning when my alarm went off, I almost pressed, okay, so I snoozed one time. I give myself one snooze.
You gotta snooze at least twice.
But I almost shut my alarm off completely. Make sure that you're careful with that snooze button. I have been burned kind of recently with that, so.
Don't tell them that. Of course we wake up on time every single morning.
Yeah.
But it really helps to have coffee and to, breathe that fresh morning air. But yesterday we saw some really great storms, Karah. Let's do a quick recap of those storms. We desperately do need rain, and only a lucky few of us actually got some good totals out of this. As we kind of go through late evening, those storms quickly died down just east of White House. Seeing some pretty good totals towards Nacogdoches as well. But to our northeast, that's when, as we got into the evening hours, that's when we started seeing some really good rain towards Mount Pleasant. All those white lines, that's lightning strikes. So some pretty active storms fired on up yesterday evening, especially to our north. But it was more the late afternoon for the Smith County area. But looking at rain totals once again, we had some areas really dodged, and I'll point that out here. Almost 3 inches in Mount Pleasant, a 1/10 of an inch towards Gilmer. Gilmer is one of the driest areas in East Texas, and they can use all the rain they can get. Almost an inch, though, further off to the west, but a 1/10 of an inch for a majority of the Gilmer area. They could have used a little bit more here. Heading further south, you can just see how Lindale got missed, Winona got dodged, White House and parts of Tyler just missed out that area, but yesterday you got that rain, so you shouldn't feel too bad. East of White House, almost an inch, and 3/4 parts of you head further south in Tyler. Looking at Henderson, north got almost an inch of rainfall, then seeing nearly 3 inches towards Wells. So that's one of the higher totals as well. And Nacogdoches area seeing a little bit of a break, a dry slot, but then 2 inches south and east of it. So some good rain, really great, almost doubling some of the totals for August. August is typically one of our driest months of the year. And as we get into September, which is Saturday, by the way, we start actually getting more and more rain on average. But no rain today. We're looking like some mostly sunny skies to begin our morning. Plenty of blue skies out there. Temperatures beginning at 73 degrees with south-southeast winds at 5 miles per hour. Once we get into today, a 10% potential for that rain. Very low here, but seeing 96 degrees for a high temperature. Some very isolated afternoon storms are possible, but I would expect broken cloud cover for majority of East Texas. If I'm wrong here, folks, I'll take full responsibility here. But let's look at our 7-day forecast. This is when the rain chances really start going up again, is by Sunday. We got a long weekend here for Labor Day, also seeing some rain. So although we might have some, folks getting that extra day off, a nice long weekend here, you might be having to spend it indoors with all those thunderstorms around. So if you want to learn more about the weather, head over to our website at easttexasmatters.com. Karah, back to you.
All right, thanks, Eric. Now, this kind of story my grandpa loves. Every year, the Farmer's Almanac comes out with long-term weather predictions. Some people, they swear by it, but others don't really trust the logic. Fox 51's Matt Thibodeau explains why some follow this old method.
The Farmer's Almanac, for 200 years, people have used it to predict the weather. Each year, we're given an idea of what's to come. This year, the Almanac says we will have a frigid winter. But does anyone really rely on it?
Not necessarily. We just kind of try to watch the weather and hope that, the cool nights will slow down when we start planting.
Kennerly says when it comes to the Almanac or weather forecast, he just likes to take things day by day.
This is East Texas. It may be cold one day and it may be 85 the next day in the winter.
James Wilhite of Wilhite Landscaping says he uses the Almanac to an extent.
They have great planting dates. They have great dates as far as first and last killing freeze and frost. They have a reasonable prediction on seasonal weather trends.
But is there any science to the Farmer's Almanac, or is it all just hearsay? Some say it's a mix of both. Ashton Logsdon, the Nacogdoches County Extension Assistant, says farmers do research and make informed predictions.
They've observed the temperature swing in the Pacific Ocean that is supposed to lead to El Nino event here in the coming month. And so that's where they're getting most of their information from, is from seeing that.
All this science, Wilhite says, has made weather experts turn away from horticulture.
We're all doing our own thing, so we're kind of blind to horticulture, and I think that's why that publication is so popular, because it hits the nail right on the head.
So what do you think? Is the Farmer's Almanac just old wives' tales, or is it science? Matt Thibodeau, Fox 51 News.
Now, y'all might think I'm crazy for this one, but I might not trust the farmers. I don't know about all that. But with animals, I think that animals do know our winter predictions. I might be crazy for saying that. But we also got another opinion from a local farmer about the accuracy of this farmer's almanac. He says in his line of business, they don't necessarily depend so much on what the almanac says, but rather they just take it day by day, watching the weather and hoping that the cool nights slow down when they start planting their crops. However, if the farmer's almanac prediction is true, he says a cold winter is actually not a bad thing for East Texas.
Because it'll get rid of a lot of insects that, you know, you don't necessarily need and want on your produce in the, you know, in the early spring.
Ultimately, he said, since this is East Texas, it may be cold one day and it may be 85 degrees the next day. Farmers in this area have learned to just kind of go with the flow. And you should know about 2 students at Tyler Junior College. They have been given national scholarships. They're both sophomores, both members of an honor society, and both passionate in their pursuit of their education.
Kristen and Grizel have been named Coca-Cola Scholars. They were 2 out of 200 chosen, but more than 1,000 people applied nationwide.
Having that honor of receiving the scholarship and being able to continue my education is a great gift that I'm very, very grateful for.
Furthering their education has always been at the forefront. That's why both of them are members of Phi Theta Kappa, an honor society at Tyler Junior College.
Not a lot of people know about Phi Theta Kappa, but we're standing out because we did this.
In the organization, they do a lot of community service. That's one thing that stuck out on their resumes from the rest.
If you join organizations, your experience completely changes because you're not only learning in a classroom, but you're learning in your own experiences.
If you have the strong enough ambition, then you're going to apply yourself to go and succeed.
And if you've ever underestimated the opportunity offered by junior colleges, you may want to rethink that.
To get this scholarship is kind of showing, like, just because I go to a junior college doesn't mean that I can't succeed too.
If you're determined and if you're passionate and if you persevere, you can do anything you want.
And they are proof of it.
Seriously, those girls were so sweet, so I'm really happy for both of them. Well, coming up next, a comedian's tribute. The departed funny man Robin Williams is honored with a giant mural. How the artist was inspired by this actor. And Prince's family sues. Fingers are being pointed on who's to blame for the performer's death, who they're accusing, and why they believe it could have been avoided. That's coming up next in entertainment. It is time to
entertain. Okay, actor and comedian Robin Williams. I miss him a lot. Everyone misses him a lot. Will be honored with a giant mural in San Francisco. The creator says he was asked by another artist last week to paint over an old mural, and it took him 6 days to complete. He chose Williams as his subject, saying he loved the actor's work in Hook and in Patch Adams. Andre Iglesias spent $900 of his own money to complete the mural. Williams, who died in 2014, spent the majority of his life in the San Francisco area. What is your favorite Robin Williams movie?
Flubber.
Flubber?
Yeah, I think it's really funny.
Oh, that is a classic.
You caught me off guard with that one. I had to think really fast.
I gotta go Aladdin when he played Genie. Classic.
Oh, really?
Classic.
Oh, that's interesting. I
Actually,
thought that you would
Good Will
have said
Hunting as a psychiatrist, therapist, or whatever his role was.
There's
amazing.
so many. There's really so many when it comes to him. All right, so we've got Prince and his family that's suing the star's former doctor. 6 of Prince's former, the brothers and sisters filed a wrongful death lawsuit. The family's also suing Walgreens and several healthcare groups. They claim all the defendants had a chance but failed to diagnose and help Prince with his opioid addiction before he died. It's really sad because so many people are addicted to these drugs now. Really, it is a crisis, and we report on it all the time, and sadly he lost his life to it.
It stinks. All right, okay, now we need to talk about some huge news that our favorite reporter is going to be doing for us on upcoming movies and films coming to theaters
David Daniel.
Very excited about it.
Dwayne Johnson's dream role. According to Deadline, the actor is set to star in The King as Hawaii's King Kamehameha. The report says Johnson has talked for years about playing the legendary king who united the Hawaiian Islands. Warner Brothers and New Line won an auction for the project, which Johnson plans to start filming in 2020.
I love piloting aircraft.
More 2020 movie news. We'll have to wait until June of that year to see Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick. Paramount has pushed back the Top Gun sequel to work out complex flight sequences. Paramount also announced a sequel to A Quiet Place is set to hit theaters May 15th, 2020. John Krasinski, who directed and co-wrote the box office hit, is writing the follow-up. Schindler's List hit theaters 25 years ago and went on to win 7 Oscars, including Best Picture and Steven Spielberg's first Best Director Oscar. To mark the anniversary, it's been digitally remastered, and Universal is re-releasing it in theaters for a limited run beginning December 7th. Liam Neeson stars as Oskar Schindler, who saved more than 1,100 Jews during the Holocaust, a timeless reminder of the difference a single person can make. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
That movie's so sad.
I know, that's really a depressing note to end it on right there. I don't like that. Okay, well, a tender moment for one of Hollywood's great leading men. Switching gears here, this photo shows the 101-year-old Kirk Douglas staring lovingly at his 8-month-old great-granddaughter, and he's putting his hand toward her. So that's a really cute moment that was captured, and it was actually by his grandson. So his grandson posted that picture on his Instagram account.
Hollywood legend.
That's
The
really
missing
cute.
person thriller gets a high-tech update in Searching. Once again, our favorite reporter gives us a preview of what's coming up this weekend.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, sweetheart. Where are you?
Study group. Gonna go all night.
Oh, one more thing. I want to know about the final you took today.
Searching stars John Cho as a man whose teenage daughter goes missing. He responds by digging into her life online.
Did see her eat lunch alone.
On Thursday?
Every day.
You don't think she's involved with anything serious?
Cho and Deborah Messing, as the detective on the case, connected to the script as real-life parents.
It's the biggest part of my life, and it's the biggest part of how I think of myself now. And it informed sort of everything we did on the film.
This film is about parental love, and it is about, you know, a parent who desperately wants to protect their child.
The story is told entirely on screens, so Messing and Cho had to do most of their acting to GoPro cameras attached to computers.
Everything that makes me comfortable about acting on film was taken away from me.
I just couldn't rely on anything that I'd become accustomed to relying on.
I didn't have a human being in front of me to act with.
People, different angles, blocking, movement, all those things were gone.
It was the biggest challenge I've had as an actress, by far.
Look into her behavior also.
She gets a fake ID. I know my daughter.
It's your keychain.
She was my best friend. You broke his jaw.
I know my daughter.
I'm trying to help you find my daughter.
I didn't know her. I didn't know my daughter.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Oh, sadly, Eric, I don't think they're going to be able to find her unless Liam Neeson shows up and he's able to handle the situation.
But then Hulk and the Avengers come out of nowhere.
We're going to combine everything.
But Liam Neeson could still take them all. He's a pretty tough dude.
Agreed.
7-day forecast here. Looking at some good rain potential as we get to Sunday. Folks, you have a 3-day weekend here. Make sure that maybe you keep some indoor backup plans because there's going to be rain in your forecast.
Good idea. All right, and coming up next, we've also got some new stuff on the net. We're going to show you the latest in laugh out loud videos we found. That and more when we return on Fox 51 Good Day. All right, so for what's new on the net this morning, our producers were hard at work once again trying to find some cool things for us to talk about. So get this, I mean, some people, they really can't leave their pets behind no matter what, I guess, even on the back of a Harley. So, isn't that funny? So he is bad to the bone on his motorcycle with his little owner right there. That dog is huge.
That's a big dog.
I cannot believe the size of that dog.
Okay, if you think that dog is big, take a look at this kitty. This isn't your average household cat. It is a jungle cat. And why does it need a bottle? But look at this. Look at okay. So the other tiger starts butting at it. You can't look away from tigers. Now, there's a great article online. Look this up. That there's villages in India that wear masks on the back of their heads when they walk alone in the forest, so that tigers don't think that their eyes are not watching them.
That is crazy. So it really is a thing that you're not supposed to look away from.
Tigers hold grudges and they can stalk. They're incredible animals. But look at that. That's
oh my gosh. And just that guy should not be in there in the first place, putting a bottle up to his face. Like, I don't even understand how that even got started, but he just needs to not get that close to tigers.
Got out of there as fast as he could.
Yes, he could.
All right, so that's kind of how my cat acts when I get in between her and the food dish. Really? But let's talk about our 7-day forecast. Rain potential is coming at the end of the weekend. 30% chance 40 for Monday. Now, it's still off 4 days from now. Those forecasts can still change, but for now, I would at least plan on having a backup plan for outdoor plans.
And you're right, there's a 3-day weekend, so people need those.
We don't get that 3-day weekend.
Yeah, we're going to be here Monday morning with you guys. All right. Well, coming up in our next hour of news, protecting election technology. Lawmakers are gearing up for the upcoming election season by examining ballot security.
We really can't respond to threats if we don't know that they exist.
Why finding out who funds these machines is vital for the midterm elections. And a revenue redo. 2 senators are looking into the IRS for an overhaul. Why they're upset about taxpayers not being able to reach anyone for help. That's coming up next. Stay with us on Fox 51. Good day.